Mm-hmm.
This dude offered me water and then like brought my pizza to me. And it's like a dining experience. He like brought it out and was, just carrying on a nice conversation with me. And in my head, I'm like, what the fuck are you after, guy? And then I'm like, all right, coffee, music, life, records.
Cool.
Let's do the damn thing.
Sounds good, man. I like your shirt, by the way.
Thank you. This is my clothing brand, as a matter of fact. We did this design. It's the Morning Girl, but she's got, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, a little bit of influence there. I put the blue mask and gloves on. She's in a Tyvek suit. She's all wrecked, haggard.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. We did it for a domestic violence awareness because the uptick in domestic violence issues during COVID was crazy. And I live in Long Beach, so I think it jumped like some 500%. And that was crazy, dude. It was such a troubling time when COVID first kicked off. And all these men and women who were in these domestic abusive relationships and had nowhere to go. There was this place called Sukasa in my neighborhood that facilitates safe houses and stuff for people to go to. So I wanted to make sure they had funding.
Yeah, that's great. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I can imagine why that would be. I mean, people are all stuck together and
I think not only are they stuck together, there's just a lot of stresses about what was going on and
jobs.
What was I mean, people were losing jobs, money issues were going up, and now all of a sudden you're in a house all day with somebody who's already, will come home at 5 o'clock in the evening angry, and you got a short window. Now you have all day to put up with this person. Like I can't even imagine, dude. So
dude, for sure.
Yeah.
Right on. You said you're in Long Beach. Are you born and raised there?
No, I'm actually I'm a Houston native. Shout out Water Parks. I grew up in H-Town. I was born in a small town called Katy, west of Houston. So it's kind of like the Orange County of Houston.
Sure. And that's funny. We just moved to Nashville, originally from San Diego, my family and I, and we almost moved to Katy.
Really?
Yeah. They've built this dope, like master plan community. I forgot what it's called, but they had like zip lining and skate parks and this whole like man-made like lake that you could fish off. It was crazy looking.
Yeah, it's that's really wild. You were considering Katy, and then there's Nashville on that. Like Katy, I was born there when it had less than 10,000 people as a population for the town, and now it's like the population size of Pittsburgh or something crazy.
Yeah, it's huge.
And when I go to visit family, I'm like, I don't even know where I'm at anymore. It's like not even this. I've been out of Katy for a long time, but I've been in California for the better part of a decade. And then before that, I was in North Texas, where I'm at now at the moment. We're actually recording. When I get done with this interview, I'm headed back to the studio to finish tracking vocals for the rest of the record. So,
oh wow, rad.
Yeah, so we jumped on this interview at a good time.
Cool. Yeah, that's funny that's rad that you're from Katy, because we were looking in originally the Woodlands, because we heard
nice area too.
That's really cool. And then we were looking in Houston and Sugarland and different areas around there, and then we stumbled upon this like crazy like master plan community, and we're like, oh, this is dope. Yeah, it was in Katy, Texas.
Yeah, it's what part of San Diego are you from? I like totally skipped over that.
Oh, I'm originally from Rancho Penasquito. It's like actually Poway area, like where Blink's from.
Yep. If you're into pop punk and you don't know where Poway is, you just need to walk off a pier with some ankle weights, dude.
Totally.
Everybody should know about Poway, and the skate rats that came out of that formed an entire movement. So.
Yes, sir. I mean, I lived right next to the sombreros, the Blink dudes. Now it's all tagged up with like love notes to like Tom DeLonge and stuff. It's crazy.
Who lives just up the road in Encinitas these days.
Yeah, he does. So
yeah.
Cool, man. Well, so you from Katy, how did you get into music?
That's a bit of a longer story, but I'll give you as much of the cliff notes as I can. So my mom is a classically trained music teacher. She used to tour the world singing in choirs to college and that sort of thing.
Wow.
but music has just very much been part of my family's DNA. My dad as well grew up in Houston. Was kind of a cool guy in high school, but he knew a couple of the guys from ZZ Top. He was in the running circles like Janis Joplin and that sort of stuff. So rock and roll has just kind of been part of it. And then my mom's more practical and traditional approach to music was very much part of my upbringing. The only caveat to it was I was never trained in music whatsoever. So I literally can't read notes whatsoever, but I can pick up a guitar. I can sit at the piano, play drums, bass, I even got into turntables for a while. I was doing some like production stuff in my earlier years with a hip hop label in Houston, but cool. Yeah, that's really how I got into music. I started playing in bands. I'd probably say somewhere around 6th or 7th grade. And typical, well, you're from the Poway area. I mean, even like, the far right Christian movement out there, even like, you get involved in youth groups. And so I was playing in like a church band, and I got that thrill at a really young age of having an audience and like having this energy behind the drum kit and loving that response. And so I knew from a really young age, like probably about the time I was 12 or 13 years old, I knew I got to play rock and roll. That's it.
That's awesome. So you're always, I mean, it sounds like you're playing in bands for a while. When did you said you moved to North Texas for a while and you're in Long Beach. Sure. Like when did it start like becoming more of like, profession in that sense?
Sure.
Like,
when I was about 21, 22, I had a metal band called Dallas Was the Day. We were based out of Houston, very like math metal, like super technical, fun stuff. And we caught a blip of a break with the Ryan Dunn Vito rock tour from Jackass. So we got to hang with all those dudes for a really short spurt. We did a co-headlining date with a band called Fight Paris, who was signed to Trustkill Records at the time. And a little bit of hardcore and punk rock history. Trustkill Records was the label next to Victory and a couple others in the mid-late 90s going into the early 2000s that facilitated a lot of the scene that I'm sure you and I could sit and wax about for hours.
Oh, totally.
Terror, Throwdown, Bullet for My Valentine, Blood for Blood, I think was on there. I mean, there were just Poison the Well being one of the biggest ones. They were huge. But I mean, we just got to know a lot of that stuff. Hope's Fall was one of my favorite bands. And from there on, I mean, just having a taste of that and like, seeing the guys stumbling out of the vans, like getting, I was like, dude, I got to continue doing this. So a little later, I got into a band called Better Luck out of Houston. They were doing kind of some regional touring and that sort of thing. But their original drummer left and I joined, and then we put out a couple more EPs, very, very driven pop punk stuff. So we're right in the realm of like Newfound Glory, that kind of starting line, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
We did a Texas takeover tour through Third String Productions, which was is still actually run by Mike Zemer. We toured with a band called Kid Liberty.
Okay, another name.
My guitar player Chase and I got an opportunity to join up with them as they were losing their drummer and their guitar player, and the rest was history after that. So Kid Liberty for us was for me and Ben Wesson, who's the frontman of this band now of Loose Ends, was kind of our launching pad. We signed to Trustkill.
Wow.
So yeah, we had moved up with that. I think we had done some negotiations with Century Media at one point and Victory as well. So we signed to Trustkill, and then that got backed out of, and Josh, the label owner, changed the name to Bullet Tooth Records, and the rest is really history. We put out the album Fight With Your Fists. We had such a good time doing that record. We actually recorded with Geoff Rockwell. It was done Forever the Sickest Kids, Crown the Empire, a whole bunch of other bands, man, like really good stuff. So that record carried us for quite a while. And the unfortunate side of it was we were on the cusp of the shift in the music industry, where it was transitioning from physical album sales and transactions of that sort, like having barcodes with your music, to streaming. And it was just a really wonky time. I think somewhere for like 4 or 5 years for a lot of bands. And we just, we had a lot of miles on us within 3 years of doing that. It was just, you know, it was a wild time. So I parted ways in 2011. Eventually everyone else just kind of went their way. They continued putting out a few more singles and some small stuff here and there. I moved to California shortly after.
Okay. And did you start a band there? Like, what was the first move once you got to California?
Well, I got to Long Beach. Long Beach was somewhere I kind of planted my flag early on. I knew just from, when we were touring, we toured a lot with some really good friends of ours in a hardcore band called The Greenery. Okay. And they were based in Long Beach.
I remember that name too.
Yeah, pretty thrashy, like skate thrash stuff. It's really, really bitching. So I got pretty familiar with Long Beach and that territory. And I was like, dude, I love it's like a blue collar town, just a lot of rich history with it. And a lot of skate culture, graffiti, just like, just built off the backs of these unions and oil workers and stuff like that. So I just thought it was a really cool culture, aesthetic. The atmosphere in it wasn't as like snooty or nose up as LA seemed to be. It was kind of weird. It's like, So went there. First move musically was I started writing some of these songs that you're hearing today. Sorry, I'm getting text messages like mad. I started writing some of the songs that are on this record now.
Okay.
That was about 2013. And then by 2015, I had moved into my friend, who's the bass player in Loose Ends. We had a house in Costa Mesa. Okay. And he had gotten his feet wet in recording and was moving into that audio engineering and being a producer. And we just started writing some of these songs. And somewhere in the middle of that, a band called Crooked Teeth. I forget what Tyson had called it at the time. From First to Last, I think, or maybe not. That didn't even sound. No, it wasn't even that. I don't know. I forget what he called what the name of the band was. He was changing the
First to Last is a band or was a band. I don't know.
Was a band. I can't remember what he called it before that. But Yzma. Sorry, we got the cat running around like crazy.
Oh, good. My kid just ran out of the room, so I was like,
I saw you looking over. I was like, dude.
Yeah, no, my son was in here, and then it sounds like my wife got home, so he ran out the door.
Oh man, go on, Yzma. But Tyson had approached Matt about recording his first EP called Out Here Alone, and we put kind of a little hiatus on the Loose Ends project, and we had one song. We had our first demo called Wolves. We had recorded that and had that situated, and I had all these other ideas for songs with Matt, and we got busy with Crooked Teeth, and then a lot of really crazy things just started to happen in life that put all of this on the back burner. And I was, on some personal stuff, like I'd proposed to my wife at the time, or I proposed to my girlfriend at the time. And then shortly after that, my best friend, who was like my brother, was murdered in a really horrible domestic violence situation. And so we had to go, we had to go through like a capital murder trial in Texas and go through that whole thing. And so that was a couple of years off the books, because it's like once the event happens, you have to, you deal with the grieving process. But then in that, I was a witness to some things, and I ended up having to testify and go through all that nonsense. And so it was just a lot of,
man, I can't even imagine. Not only did you lose your friend, but then you've got to deal with like, those cases don't take like a week. I mean, the whole process was probably a couple of years, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was about a little over a year and a half from when it happened. And it was just like a crooked situation in a small town in the panhandle of Texas. And, long story short, a really entitled dude who thought he was going to be able to get away with whatever he wanted to get away with, didn't like the fact that my brother in this life was seeing his ex-wife, and showed up one night unprovoked. My brother never met him, never said anything to him, nothing, literally nothing. And this dude just did what he did, man.
Oh my God.
And it's such a small town. There weren't a lot of resources available to get everything taken care of with any kind of like haste or, nothing with any kind of quickness. So,
Sure.
trying to get memorials and keepsakes for a memorial service that you're planning, and you end up, you just ended up seeing some things, better me than the parents.
Right.
And I took that on the chin and had to process that in a different form of grief. And as you can imagine, changed some perspective on a lot of things in my life. And I tell that story not in any way, shape, or form to lay out like some hard emotional thing for people. I know it's hard for a lot of people to understand in general, but not in any way, shape, or form would it be like a sympathetic vote either. But
sure,
a lot of this really went into this record.
Okay.
A lot of life, from leaving Kid Liberty to moving to California to trying to reestablish yourself in a totally different part of society, just a different mental capacity out there, different outlook on life. And then finding out who your friends are, that kind of stuff. And then in the process, losing one. I got married. That, having known my wife for 12 years, is no longer, we're actually getting divorced at the moment in the middle of this record. In the middle of this record getting produced, and it's all good, man. It's just part of life, So all that to say is the fiber of the fabric and everything going into this record, sonically speaking. Now that's the instrumental approach. Ben Wesson, who is my guitar player in Kid Liberty, and one of my best friends in the whole world, Kyle Durst, who was in my band Better Luck before that, and then Matt, who was living with me in Costa Mesa. All four of us just put together our strengths and wrote this album. And Ben, Kyle produced it, and Ben has stepped up to write lyrics for this record that really, really settle into the structure of the songs in a way that has a good depth of energy, a good range. He's versatile. His vernacular is thorough. He's got a nice bounce and a flow to it. And I wish he were here to talk about it. He's actually driving down from North Texas from Sherman to get to Fort Worth to record, which is why he's not here at the moment.
Oh, good. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because you're the drummer, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was 99.9% sure, but
all good.
Sometimes somebody throws me for a curveball.
No, all good.
Cool. So wow, that's a lot.
It is.
But so loose ends now, like you mentioned that this started in Costa Mesa, and then
yeah. Matt,
how long have
Matt
you guys
Lang,
been kind of a band? Like you and Matt started it, and then when did it kind of form as loose ends?
Literally last summer. So about a year ago to date. I went back to Houston, middle of this whole COVID thing I was just there killing some time for about a week. And then I decided, I'll stick around. I helped my mom remodel a house so she could sell it. And I ended up staying there for 2 months. So I was like, well, I had some time in the evening. So I was just going over to my buddy Kyle's at his house. And, he started playing around with Logic and drum programming and recording, just tracking stuff. And we had already been sending ideas back and forth during COVID, just like through videos and stuff. Like, I had this guitar riff and I would play that. The song, it's appropriately titled "You Son" at the moment. It's like a working title. But the acoustic intro to that song is the actual soundbite from a video that I sent him, and then it goes into the production of the song itself. So we wanted to include some of these elements that really built the record or had it start in the first place. So we've got a lot of that. But yeah, Kyle and I just sat and recorded 5 tracks. And I don't think we really had any kind of expectation of this thing doing anything at all. And then we got really meticulous about it, and that's just Kyle's nature. And then I'm a bit of a perfectionist as well. And I thought, these are fucking good, dude. Like, we gotta like really move on this. Let's see if we can get some other people involved with it. And I shot a mix of Love and Heartache to Ben, and he wrote back and was like, dude, I gotta do this thing. I was like, well, I don't really want anybody else on it. So yeah, write some lyrics, let me know, shoot them my way. I don't even think we went through a draft. He just sent lyrics and then like sent videos of him singing. I was like, this is perfect. I don't even like, I'm going with this. There wasn't any like editing process with it. So yeah, that's
Wow.
so this has all been done relatively virtually. And then all the recording process was done last summer. And then I went to Orlando to record bass in October with Matt at his studio in Orlando.
Okay.
And then we're in Fort Worth here at Southside Recorders doing vocal tracking with Geoff Rockwell again.
Wow. Wow. So this is the EP is called Tell God You're Framed, right?
Yeah.
And it's a concept record?
Yeah. So I wanted to, just given everything I described earlier,
Sure.
As you can imagine, whether you have faith or you don't have faith, this isn't like a religious record whatsoever. So, I want to be very clear about that. I respect anybody who believe whatever they want to believe. We're all just trying to live our life and do the best we can. Just stay out of my business and I'll stay out of yours. That's kind of my approach with things. But I really struggled altogether. And I considered myself a pretty staunch atheist for a long time, until a lot of things just were, I don't know. I don't know what changed. I think it really kind of come about in the last 7 or 8 months. I was just kind of took this new perspective of a spiritual approach and looking at life a little differently. But I still found myself struggling with this idea that this omniscient being, this all-knowing thing, who knew the answer and the outcome the entire time. Like no matter what my choice was or what you would call free will, you know what I'm going to do. How is that free will? And why the hell do I have to explain myself when I get to your so-called kingdom? And it, I don't know, man, that jacked with me like pretty hard, just sitting there stewing on that. It's like, what is this all supposed to mean? Like, what am I supposed to learn from this? How am I supposed to grow? And then I, just kind of beating myself up. Like I'm not perfect. Anyway, all that to get to this idea that like, well, you know what, when I get there, when it's my time, when I leave this vessel, my soul or my spirit, whatever you want to call it, my energy, whatever, dude, I was framed. Like, I don't know what else you want me to tell you. You knew what was going to happen. I'm now here. I'm telling you, I did the best I could. If you knew all my intentions in the first place, then I'll inherit whatever this supposed thing is. But if not, then it was all a setup anyway. So, get fucked. Kind of, so it's like, dude. So I stewed on that forever. And so what we wanted to do was, from the first song that we have coming out on this, it's kind of a sonic translation or an experience of what I felt like it might sound like leaving your physical being, leaving your body. So what the ascent would be if all that left with it were your eardrums and you could receive that. And then it swells up and gets louder and more chaotic. And there's this swirling of sound that over a stereo image, you hear it circulating through. Like if you're in a car, it's whirling around faster and faster. So you really get that. And all of a sudden it just stops and the snare hits and it's the song Wolves. And so the concept that I threw out to Ben was, I want the music, because if music is a universal language, right? That's quote God or whatever you want to call it, the all-knowing, and that's its communication. And that Ben's lyrics are the explanations or the justifications for his actions. So it's literally a conversation with God. This is like, or your maker, or your reckoning, so to speak. So over 5 songs, that's what the idea of the album was supposed to be.
I like it. That's cool. And you guys have put out one song so far, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Love and Heartache.
Yeah, Love and Heartache is out. The single released on streaming platforms May 21st. And then we just put the music video out on June 11th. So that dropped. That's available on YouTube. We did New Noise Magazine featured it with us, which was a great, just a really great platform. They were really awesome to make that happen. We've got Mike Muley on PR, like plugging away for us and really putting his feet to the ground and making some things happen, which has been awesome. And we're all relatively older, so this is, you know, we're all in our mid 30s. We're grown dudes, like kind of living out some youth a little bit here.
Dude, that's why I love the sound of your band and like what you guys are doing, because I'm in my mid 30s and the brand new, and you know, all those pop punk bands, Taking Back Sunday, or all those bands, the bands that I grew up loving and seeing when they were little baby bands coming through like the small punk rock clubs, and now they're doing like 2 nights at some theater that's sold out. You know
sold
what I mean?
out, sold out.
So I think it's rad that what you guys are doing. Was the video, like, was it difficult to shoot the video as far as like, you know, limitations go as far as like this whole COVID thing?
So glad you asked that, because that's a story in and of itself. So I had reached out to a couple people to possibly facilitate a video, right? And I even when we were with Kid Liberty, I mean, we had options to do music videos, and we just never like were disciplined enough. All we cared about was drinking 40s and like driving like to the next show. Like,
of course.
People were like trying to give us interviews, and we're just like, yeah, go talk to our bass player. So doing a music video just wasn't really in the cards, I don't think. But this time around, I really wanted to take this seriously, because the concept of the record really means a lot to me, and I wanted to reflect that. So I cast my nets to see who would get back. Limited responses, just because the budget was so tiny, if any at all. And we had some friends in Sherman who were going to help us. And then the detail in which I wanted the video to be shot, like I wanted, you know, lights and all kind of stuff. And then I started feeling bad, like I may be asking too much for such a limited budget or limited availability. So I reached out to my buddy Cody Pilkington, who was out of LA, and on a whim, I was like, we were having trouble, because imagine I've got guys all over the country. I've got Kyle, who's in Katy, right? I've got Ben, who's in Sherman, which is north of Fort Worth, almost to Oklahoma. I got me in Long Beach, and then I've got Matt in Orlando. So we got trying to get 4 dudes in one area in a cost-effective way is not the easiest thing. And also during COVID,
right?
Heavily regulated, you know, travel guidelines and that sort of thing. So I got Cody on a plane, told the guys, I'm going to Katy to shoot this. I don't care what it's going to be. If you guys can make it, cool. If not, I'm working something out. I literally just rolled the dice, and Cody flew out. We didn't even write a treatment. We just like verbalized it with each other. Like, here's what we're thinking on the ride from the airport to my mom's house in Cinco Ranch. And we were going to shoot in a garage. And then on Mother's Day, my mom like just allowed me and my friends to dismantle the entire living room and set up
your house. I was gonna say,
dude.
like, I thought you guys, and then the neighborhood is dope. Is that where you grew up?
So
that's a beautiful neighborhood that you're running around.
that house, I know, dude. That house is one my mom just moved into. Little background on me. My mom was a single parent, 2 boys, did her best with what she could on a teacher's salary. We grew up with next to nothing for a very long time. Wasn't always the easiest upbringing, but as you can see in the aesthetics, I mean, this is a really affluent area. And you know, when you grow up in that kind of area and you're looking around at your friends having all the nice things, all the nice instruments, all the nice, you know, the good snacks in their pantry, and, you know, the nuclear family unit, that kind of thing. It's, you know, it's a little, you get a chip on your shoulder at a young age, and your middle finger's up. And, you know, I was into tattoos and skateboarding and punk rock and surfing and all kinds of stuff that didn't really fit a lot of the mold with that kind of area. Well, there's a couple Easter eggs. So not to stay on like really dark, grim shit. So when I was 20 years old, I had a high school sweetheart that was killed in a drunk driving wreck. We had dated off and on through high school.
Oh my
One of the
gosh,
houses,
man.
So there's a particular reason. The only reason I bring that up is a very specific reason why I bring that up. one of the houses in the opening scenes in the video is a flash of her house that she grew up in. So it's kind of a little Easter egg of this.
Yeah, because in
this
the beginning
subtle,
it's showing like you're like driving, right? In the
yeah,
beginning. Okay.
yeah. So it's just these subtle nods to my youth and where I come from, or things that had affected me, and not only just to stay on the me side of it, but how that would translate visually with what Ben was saying. I mean, this idea that where I grew up, you know, like you said, these master plan communities, these things are laid out to look picturesque and very aesthetically pleasing. And the turmoil that's going on behind these closed doors and within the walls of these homes is actually really gnarly. Don't underestimate the suburbs. Like anybody tells
right,
you people
exactly
aren't hard, they're just soft. It's like, dude, there's some shit that goes down. So
yeah, I'm from the burbs, man. I know all about it.
yeah, there's some wild pent up energy in some of these people from those areas, and things happen. And you know, I at a young age, I learned that it's not all roses, dude. And I always said that if I ever did a video at any point, like if I ever got to a point in my life where I was going to make a music video, I wanted to have that, because that was a very pivotal time in my life that changed a lot of trajectory for what I ended up doing. I realized that I was at 20 years old, which is a little bit later, and I'd already kind of been living life on the edge. It was like most of my authority figures in my life said you weren't going to live past 25. It was that constant thing. And so, you know, living life that, you know, you don't know when it's going to end, just live it to the fullest kind of thing was already there. But that really set that in concrete for me. And it was like, man, this really awesome person who, by all accounts, was a beautiful individual, a beautiful soul, would help you with anything you needed at any given point, was suddenly taken from her family, from us, from all of our friends. Her name was Jennifer Roberts. And we just, I don't know, man, it thrust me into this, like, I gotta go. I really got to go do whatever it is I'm going to do. And if I do it and I die broke doing it, I'd rather charge that up and know that I like lived it out for myself and on behalf of this person that believed in who I was and what I was doing. Then, you know, I just living life on that. So the beginning of the music video has that, her house flashed in there. It's a subtle nod to that. And that neighborhood, I told Cody when we were coming back from the airport, I was like, dude, I have this one street in this neighborhood that is lined with these oak trees that just canopy over it. And like, I had this idea for this running scene. And when you see the character running in the video down that street, it's just this, what is this place? Like, where does this exist? Because people in Hollywood look for that all day. And it's like, they got to go out to the East Coast to get it. It's like, no, that's literally sitting in West Houston. So
yeah, I mean, that's what it's funny because that's what we were looking for when we were looking to move there. And from San Diego, it's like you don't see that. And we found it in south of Nashville, the suburbs. So
dude, you ended up in a great place as well. I think Nashville's got a lot happening for it. Franklin up north, and there's a lot of community.
That's where we're at, Franklin.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, is it north or south? I thought
we're south Nashville.
Okay, I thought it was. In my head, I was thinking north for some reason. Yeah, Franklin's home to a lot of people in music that were in LA at one point or in San Diego and are now there.
Yeah, that's right.
You're in a thriving area for what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we love it here so far, and we're just it's crazy because we came from California where like the regulations on all the COVID stuff was so heavy. And here we were, my younger son's in hip hop dance, and we're like in downtown. He had something, and it's like 3:00 on a Monday, and all the bars are rocking with band, like live full bands playing, like, you know, back to back. It was just like it was like 2019.
It's like they didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, yeah, but obviously it's been much later. We hadn't been down there yet since we had moved, so it was just bizarre to be like, wow, there's people like out doing things. Like, this is crazy. But yeah, it's cool here. We like it a lot. But
what's your favorite part of Nashville so far?
Just how green it is, and like how you have so much space to like, and like the lifestyle here. I mean, I don't know, this is just me talking, but like everybody's a lot more like not as like in a hurry, I guess is the way I could describe it. Like,
Well,
if
you're
you
in the South now.
yeah, it's like if you're gonna make a left turn, somebody's gonna wait. It's not like you know, like if you need to cross the street, a car will stop and be like, "Go ahead." Like,
Right.
which really weird. Like, not everybody's in a hurry. So
No.
that's the one thing we like.
You're from Southern California. It's constant go, go, go. People are gonna run you off the road if they have to get their cup of Starbucks or whatever the hell they're getting.
Right, exactly. So like being here is just like, that's one of the biggest things. I'm like, wow, this is totally different. There's actually people here that aren't always in a rush. Like, what's going on?
Dude, just since you know and understand that dynamic, I have genuinely forgotten what it's like to be treated with hospitality in like a retail setting or like over a transaction. I got 2 slices of pizza at this place called Black Cat Pizza the other day here in Fort Worth.
Mhm.
This dude offered me water and then like brought my pizza to me. And it's like a dining experience. He like brought it out and was, just carrying on a nice conversation with me. And in my head, I'm like, what the fuck are you after, guy? And then I'm like,
Right.
you know what I mean? But I've just been so under it and acclimated to LA County and like people trying to like, climb the social scale or ladder of some kind. That's like, what can you do for me kind of thing.
Right.
It's like,
That's the whole
this guy was
mentality.
literally just trying to
Crazy.
give me pizza and water and just like being chill about it. It was like,
Yeah.
I'm just spaced. I don't know. I miss that sometimes. It takes me a moment to like settle back into, people are literally just saying hi and
they're just nice.
holding a door for you.
No, dude, that's so funny that you brought up a pizza thing, because I noticed that right away. I'm like, wait, and like you'll call somebody on like people are like actually willing to help you on the other side of the line. You're like, wait a minute, you're not just gonna try to like blow me off and put me on to hand me over to somebody else. Like you're here to fix the problem. Like, what is going on here?
And fix it well if they can. They're like all about
call
it.
you back and like you're like, wait, what?
California lost that charm somewhere in its heritage, and it's unfortunate. I feel like if you go up to the Central Coast, like if you're in like Pismo, San Luis Obispo, Arroyo Grande, I love those areas. Where there's a lot more agriculture, it seems.
Yeah,
people are nicer, but
right.
where the homeless population far outweighs like even the residents in the neighborhood. It's like, well, people are not happy.
Right. And I think it's a cost of living thing too. Like you have people. I mean, growing up in San Diego, it's like both your parents have to work, and everyone's got to have like 5 jobs, especially if you want to do something like this. Like it's not easy. It's a grind. Hustle. Yeah, it's a grind. So, you have to be rush, and
it's exhausting.
Short fused because maybe you're not. Yeah, it's not as like, oh, I'm gonna go home and like actually chill.
It was an interesting shift when I actually settled into Southern California, and it's like being a native Texan. I always tell people I'm blessed and fortunate to have lived in the 2 best states in the union, in my opinion. They're both equally as proud of their history in the dumbest way as possible. Like, I don't even understand sometimes, but I love it. I love every bit of it. Like in Texas, it's always assumed we either ride horses to work, or we all have twang, right? We all have an accent.
Of course, yeah.
And the assumption for Californians is that everyone talks like Spicoli and surfs.
Like y'all surf. Like, so do you surf? No.
Yeah, but somehow people in California are like, oh, Texans suck. It's like, no, you literally think the same way that people in Texas think about you. You're the same dude. You just don't say the same shit.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's wild.
Oh,
it's
man.
wild.
Well, back to your band real quick. When's the EP coming out?
We're looking at late July. I was originally trying to do it July 1st, which would have been my best friend's birthday. And but we just given the time crunch and really wanting a quality product, I think he would be more stoked to say, well, it came out better. Like, it came out better because you waited. So we're going to do that. I think late July, maybe early August, just to make sure we have some cushion time to get some promotional stuff out there and do that sort of thing.
Cool. And you're tracking right now the record, the same
same
EP? Okay.
Yeah, we're finishing vocals on one more song today, and then we finish up harmonies a little later tonight, and then it's off to mixing and then mastering in Florida, and then off to the world and crossing fingers.
Right on, man. Well, that's awesome. That's super exciting. And thank you so much for chatting with me today. I mean,
dude,
finding
thanks so
time
much
and
for
recording.
man. This has been a great conversation. I appreciate the dialogue and the fellowship overall. So
I appreciate you. I do have one more question before I let you go. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Get a PR guy. Literally, like I can't stress that enough. I think finding somebody who is hungry, driven, and passionate about getting you in front of the people that are capable of putting you on and getting you out to larger audiences is important. All that's on a professional side. Don't ever give up. Don't do it. I don't care how low life gets. I don't care how hard things get. If playing in a band, playing music, writing music, producing it, if that's your thing, if that's what makes you tick and winds your clock, don't stop. I don't care if you're 55, you want to put out a record, like Blink-182 style, talking about dicks and farts and shit. Like, do it, dude. Who cares? Like, if it makes you happy, just do that. So that's my advice.